Over the past few years, something odd's happened in tech. The screens on our phones have become sharper, tablets have become faster, budget laptops have become surprisingly capable. Here's looking at you, MacBook Neo. And yet, somehow, e-ink note-taking tablets with slower processors, more limited software, muted colours and refresh rates that are noticeably sluggish compared with modern tablets have become ever more popular, despite them being able to cost as much as an iPad or Android tablet, and I'm not talking base models either. Kindle Scribes, Remarkable tablets, BOOX tablets, Supernote tablets, and any number of premium digital paper devices can cost several £100s, and in some cases well over 700 quid once you add accessories. For a lot of people, and I'm going by the many comments I've had about this on my e-ink focused videos, that pricing looks absurd. So why are e-ink note-taking tablets seemingly so expensive compared with normal LCD or OLED tablets? Hey folks, welcome back to the Weekly Spark. Thank you for tapping play. You look at an e-ink tablet and think, why pay premium tablet prices for something that can't even play YouTube properly? I think that's a fair question, but the answer is a bit more complicated than manufacturers simply being greedy, although premium branding absolutely plays a role. The biggest factor, though, is scale. LCD and OLED screens are produced in enormous quantities for phones, tablets, monitors, TVs, smartwatch, even cars and more. Because they're used almost everywhere, manufacturers benefit from huge economies of scale. Production becomes more efficient, component costs come down, and prices become more competitive. E-ink is different. E-ink note-taking tablets sit inside a much smaller market. They're not being produced at anything like the scale of iPads, Samsung tablets or other mainstream LCD and OLED devices. On top of that, much of the wider e-paper industry still depends heavily on e-ink holdings, the dominant patent holder and supplier behind most mainstream e-paper panels, which means there's less competition in the display supply chain than there is with conventional tablet screens. Traditional tablets ship out well over 100 million units a year globally. The entire e-reader market's estimated only around 15 million units a year, and e-ink note-taking tablets are an even smaller slice of that small category. When we compare a Remarkable, BOOX, Supernote or Kindle Scribe with an iPad, we're most definitely not comparing like for like. We're comparing a niche writing device with one of the biggest consumer tech categories in the world. In simple terms, fewer devices, smaller production runs, less competition, higher per unit costs. So while e-ink appears primitive compared to OLED and should cost less, niche tech often costs more precisely because it's niche. Modern colour e-ink also pushes costs higher depending on the technology being used. Kaleido 3, which is found in a lot of current colour e-ink devices, works by placing a colour filter array over a black and white panel. That allows it to keep a sharp 300 ppi black and white text, but colour drops to around 150 ppi, and the colours are much more muted than LCD or OLED. Gallery 3 is different. It doesn't use the same colour filter approach. It uses actual coloured ink particles in the display itself, which can potentially produce richer colours, but it does have its own trade-offs, especially around refresh speed and responsiveness. So colour e-ink is not just a normal tablet screen with the brightness turned down. It's a more specialised display technology with real compromises. And those compromises are part of why these devices can feel expensive when compared with normal tablets. That means manufacturers aren't trying to build bigger screens, they're building more specialized screens at much lower volumes with more complicated engineering. And when companies like Amazon Books or Remarkable move into premium categories, they price accordingly. Which brings us to another reason for that expense: positioning. A lot of modern e-ink devices aren't marketed primarily as simple e-readers. They're sold as productivity tools, digital notebooks, minimalist writing machines, focus devices. And once a company frames its product as a premium lifestyle or productivity tool, pricing often shifts up accordingly. And this is especially obvious with brands like Remarkable, where the appeal is as much about a distraction-free lifestyle and design philosophy as it is about hardware. So in many cases, you're paying not just for hardware, but for software, ecosystem design, branding, the promise of focus. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that the pricing's justified. In fact, I'd argue that many e-ink products probably are overpriced for what they physically offer. But manufacturers know their audience is often willing to pay for the experience, not just raw specifications. There's also inflation, global supply chain pressure, R&D investment, and newer features like stylus technology, cloud syncing, custom operating systems, and now AI. Now, all of that adds to the cost. And two of those matter the more people realize, because they're not just one-off hardware expenses. The first is cloud services. Once these devices become digital notebooks, the company's no longer just selling you a screen and a pen. They might also be storing your notebooks, syncing them across devices, handling backups, running servers, maintaining apps, supporting user accounts, and keeping that infrastructure running long term. And the second is AI. If a device offers handwriting recognition, summaries, search, transcription, document analysis, or anything that relies on server-side processing, that isn't free for the company to run. Every time notes are processed, converted, searched, or summarized, there will be compute costs behind the scenes. Now, these costs may seem tiny for one person, but spread that across thousands or millions of users, well, it all adds up. So those ongoing service costs have to be covered somehow, whether through the device price, subscriptions, accessories, or a mixture of all three. Yet, despite all of that, the uncomfortable truth's still this: some companies charge premium prices partly because they can. Apple, though not part of the e-ink market, has long been associated with this idea through the so-called Apple tax. And I suggest that in the e-ink note-taking world, Remarkable, perhaps more than anyone, has successfully applied a similar strategy. E-ink remains specialized enough that direct competition is still relatively limited, particularly at the premium end. So the reality is this, that customers really can only compare expensive niche products against other expensive niche products. To sum up all my thoughts on this, e-ink note-taking tablets are so expensive because they sit at the intersection of niche manufacturing, they have limited supply chains, specialist hardware, cloud infrastructure, software development, and that premium branding, and ultimately consumer willingness to pay. Companies understand they're selling not just hardware, but a particular kind of experience. And the irony is that e-ink was once seen mainly as a simpler alternative. Now, in many cases, it's become a premium one. And for buyers, that means the real question isn't, is this technologically impressive, but rather, does this focused experience genuinely justify the price? And for plenty of people, the honest answer may well be, not really. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours via the comments. Do you think e-ink note-taking tablets are genuinely worth the money, and why? Or are manufacturers pushing premium pricing a little bit too far? Right, if you found this video interesting, a like would be lovely, and if you enjoy honest weekly tech commentary like this, please do consider subscribing. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can buy me a virtual coffee by scanning the QR code that's been on the screen throughout this video, or use the link in the description. As always, thanks for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one.